For the last 9 years, Jacob deGrom has put on a masterclass in elite pitching as a member of the New York Mets. The first chance he had to leave as a free agent, he bolted for the newly energized Texas Rangers because he said that winning a World Series is important to him.
Bringing a World Series here, that's the goal, winning a World Series. It was the vision of building something special and winning for a long time. I want to play this game for a long time and want to win. Everything lined up, and this is where I wanted to be.
Mets owner Steve Cohen clearly took that comment personally and immediately reacted by giving the middle finger to MLB's luxury tax rules, raising the team's payroll to almost $360 million, and it's possible that he's not even close to being done yet. Are MLB super teams and high payrolls good or bad for baseball? And at this point, should there now be a bottom floor for what teams have to spend on their rosters? Let's talk about it. Alright baseball fans, it's time for your dose of MLB news and rumors. It's Talkin' Twins. How's it going, everybody? Not long ago, Jacob deGrom signed a 5-year, $185 million deal with the Texas Rangers. In the week which followed that signing, the New York Mets countered by signing Justin Verlander, Kodai Senga, and Jose Quintana, all three of whom signed for a combined $187 million, only $2 million more than deGrom will be getting over the term of his contract. In addition, the Mets also added outfielder Brandon Nimmo and relief pitcher David Robertson. At the time of filming, the Mets' 2023 luxury tax payroll is now roughly $359.7 million, and they are approximately $100 million higher than the New York Yankees, who are notorious for high spending, and so far this offseason expect to receive praise just for re-signing their franchise player Aaron Judge. Reality check for the Yankees: re-signing your franchise player is kind of the bare minimum that's expected. Since the off-season free agency period began, Mets owner Steve Cohen has been showing up all other MLB owners, especially the self-proclaimed small market teams who rarely spend and say they just can't afford to spend money on key players. Among these teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Oakland A's, Baltimore Orioles, Kansas City Royals, Cincinnati Reds, and Tampa Bay Rays. For what it's worth, the Mets payroll is currently twice as high as at least two-thirds of the other 30 teams. Steve Cohen clearly couldn't care less about providing cover for owners who pretend to be poor. He wants to win, and he knows that winning comes at a financial cost, with the benefit of a financial boom on the other side of winning. Cohen clearly knows that you've got to spend money to make money. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Twins, who controlled the AL Central almost all of last season until a late season collapse in September due to injuries, a cold offense, and an exhausted bullpen, are currently ranked 21st overall in payroll commitments for 2023. Just imagine how much better they would be if they spent some more. And I'm not suggesting that new Twins owner Joe Pohlad dropped $200 million on the team right now, but winning doesn't just happen, and it doesn't happen overnight. As we're seeing play out this offseason, players still care about getting paid as much as possible, but they also care about winning. Trey Turner reportedly walked away from $50 million more than the Padres offered him because he chose to join his longtime friend Bryce Harper and the World Series finalist Philadelphia Phillies. Turner wants to win, and he sees his best shot at a World Series championship with the Phillies. A few years ago, the Phillies were a fourth-place team, spinning their wheels and going nowhere fast. Their owner invested a lot of money into making his team a contender. Over the last few years, the Phillies have invested in long-term deals with Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Zach Wheeler, Trey Turner, and Taijuan Walker. They already had a core of young players who've joined the team such as Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, and Brandon Marsh, on top of existing Phillies homegrown talent like Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins. Just like the voice in the cornfields famously said in Field of Dreams, "If you build it, they will come." The Phillies built a strong team, invested in themselves, and now both players and fans alike are flocking to Philadelphia. The team's investment in itself has already paid off in a short amount of time. The Phillies bombarded the 2022 playoffs and made it all the way to the World Series. Heading into the new season, Phillies fans are stoked about where this team is headed. Even better, players on other teams are now looking at the Phillies as a much more appealing destination. The San Diego Padres have also been making a strong push to contend by loading up on Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Drew Pomeranz, Nick Martinez, Robert Suarez, Ha-Seong Kim, Josh Hader, and Trent Grisham just over the last few years. As a result, the Padres have become the MLB team with the biggest it factor. They've reimagined what their franchise could become, and in doing so, they've erased their reputation as a perennial cellar dweller. They've created the most exciting and coolest atmosphere in baseball and cultivated a hotbed of excitement that's attracting a generation of brand new baseball fans and increasing the value of their team exponentially. exponentially. So there are many benefits to the owners who choose to invest in their teams. You can pocket the money instead and let your team fester as the Reds and Pirates have been doing, or you can try to increase its worth by investing in it as the Mets, Phillies, and Padres have done with great success. While every team doesn't have to spend like the Mets, Phillies, or Padres to improve their franchise, a change of approach would drastically reverse the fortunes of teams like the Minnesota Twins. The Twins are widely considered to be a small market team, but that's just a label that owners use to hide behind an unwillingness to invest in their own franchise. And if you're not familiar with what's currently brewing in Minnesota, then you might be surprised at how close they are to contending. They already have an abundance of roster depth, with young mid to high ceiling prospects set to either debut or return over the next few years, like top-rated shortstops Royce Lewis and Brooks Lee, infielder and Arizona Fall League standout Edouard Julien, second-round draft pick, and high-ceiling starting pitcher Connor Prelip, lefty Brent Hedrick, outfielder Emmanuel Rodriguez, sleeper pick for AL Rookie of the Year this coming season, right-handed pitcher Louis Varland, the criminally underrated Simeon Woods Richardson, their new fireball throwing weapon in the bullpen, Ronnie Enriquez, extra base hitting machine, and new third baseman Jose Miranda, the best overall relief pitcher in all of baseball, Yoan Duran. Yes, he's even better than the Mets' Edwin Diaz and the Guardians' Emmanuel Clase. The numbers don't lie, as well as the reigning American League batting champion and Gold Glove finalist Louis Arise, the Twins Rookie of the Year and starting pitcher of the year Joe Ryan, former top 5 draft pick, low-key clutch performer of the year, versatile utility player, and one of my personal favorites, Nick Gordon, and returning outfielders and former first-round draft picks Alex Kirilloff and Trevor Larnach, all of whom are surrounding the 5-tool superstar Byron Buxton. So there's a strong foundation of talent, but the Twins need more if they want to compete. If a team like the Twins stepped out of their comfort zone and transformed itself into more of a free agent destination, it would automatically inject excitement into the fan base. For proof of this, look no further than the electrified energy of the Minnesota Vikings to see what that might look like for the Twins. Meanwhile, back in Minnesota, the Twins already have one of the best overall ballparks in all of baseball. The Twins built a state-of-the-art baseball paradise that's recognized around the league as one of the best. When the stadium is packed, it's the place to be, and you can really feel the groundswell of energy from Twins fans who are hungry to see a winning team on the field once again. But as pointed out by Hall of Famer Rod Carew this past season, it's never a good sign when Target Field is packed in the middle of summer with a younger and more vibrant crowd, but only thanks to a post-game concert starring country music star Cole Swindell, as opposed to a crowd that big showing up for the baseball being played on the field. That night, the crowd was young and very energetic, and that's the kind of atmosphere that you see in San Diego. If the Twins make their on-field product more attractive with big stars signed for years, the fans will start coming back and have a reason to believe in the team. There's already a lot of good to build upon, but if the Twins don't push forward in the near future, the stands will continue to empty out. It costs a lot more to attract new customers as opposed to what it costs to keep your current ones happy. Teams like the Twins simply can't afford to lose any more fans. The time to invest is right now. Let's be real. Signing a superstar shortstop like Carlos Correa is easier said than done. First, he has to want to play in Minnesota, and if he does return to the Twins long term, then Minnesota will have a strong foundation of youth and proven talent to build on for years to come. At that point, it's imperative that the Twins go a step further and add Carlos Rodon to the mix. He's the CC Sabathia type of frontline starter who can shatter the glass ceiling over top of the Twins and really open things up for Minnesota. Rodon would more than likely instantly propel the Twins into the playoffs. Together, Rodon and Correa are expensive, but the Twins can afford it. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. As for the 2 top shortstop prospects sitting atop their farm system, they can either be moved to other positions and continue to add to the strong core that Minnesota is building, or they could be traded for other upgrades to help the team improve. Investing in the on-field product with Correa and Rodon will have instant returns for the Twins, especially compared to more of the same retread signings of players on the downswing of their careers. Year after year, the Twins spend money on free agent pitchers who don't have much left in the tank, and with all due respect to those players, it's almost always a waste of resources, and none of them ever make other players want to come play in Minnesota. Carlos Rodon and Carlos Correa would instantly change that by helping the Twins win, make the playoffs, and possibly surprise a lot of teams as the young scrappy dark horse that everyone overlooks. Spending on the right talent when it becomes available encourages other players to give Minnesota a second look. As Jacob deGrom explained at his press conference with the Rangers, seeing the team make huge commitments to both Corey Seager and Marcus Semien during last year's offseason had a big influence on his decision to sign with Texas.
Yeah, that definitely played a big role. They're signing great guys, great players, and It's going to be an exciting team. Getting out there and meeting everybody's what I'm truly excited for, and taking the field with those guys. They're true professionals. Played against Seager for a while and seems to be an awesome group. So I can't wait to get things going.
The Twins are now finding themselves at a crossroads. They want to bring in the best talent, but you first need top players like Buxton, Correa, and Rodon in order to give other top players a reason to join, and not just when they've run out of other teams to sign with. That only makes the Twins a consolation prize. If they do bring back Correa, that should be their green light to double down and do whatever it takes to get Rodon. This is the approach that helped the Rangers get DeGrom. There's a big difference between saying that you plan to be aggressive in building a winner and actually taking the steps to make it happen, like the Rangers are showing right now. And maybe it won't work for the Twins. We don't know right now, because they haven't tried it. But we do know that what they've tried in the past has not worked. As a direct result of spending on superstars, other players won't just shop around the Twins' best offers to other teams, and the team won't have to wait around for weeks or months on end for players to decide if they want to accept the Twins' offers. This is why the Twins are currently waiting on key free agents to get back to them. Players around the league simply don't see Minnesota as an attractive destination, and for the good of the franchise, that has to change. By signing and retaining key players like Correa and Rodon, over time the Twins won't be waiting for months each offseason or be passed over for lower offers from other teams. And maybe Correa and Rodon don't sign with the Twins this offseason, but something's got to change, and it's got to change soon. Once some big names are on the team and there's a reason for buzz and excitement, it will attract other key players to consider Minnesota as a place where they want to be at. Right now, that's simply not the case. Without a clear increase to spending, it's just another example of a team stuck in the mud, spinning its wheels and going nowhere fast, which ultimately is a waste of the young talents already mentioned before. The cycle of doom has to end, and the only people who can change the fate of the Twins and shed the self-adorned small market label is the Twins ownership themselves. In baseball, especially with the non-spending teams like the Pirates, Reds, A's, Royals, Orioles, and Rays, we've all seen enough evidence of owners electing to stuff their pockets full of cash without ever investing back into their teams. It's bad business for the sport, and one of the reasons that baseball has slipped to third place amongst all major league sports in North America. Meanwhile, other sports leagues are gaining ground while baseball has continued to lose momentum since the 90s. The competition for viewership and growth is fierce. When owners don't invest in their teams, the real-life damages are undeniable. Fan bases dwindle, fewer new fans are created, and competition becomes an afterthought, as the half of the league that is actually trying to win has more ability to remain in contention uncontested for decades. And this is how parity becomes a thing of the past. Without exception, every single team in Major League Baseball can afford to sign Trey Turner to an 11-year, $300 million deal, period. Or to sign Carlos Correa to a 10-year contract. Whether those contracts are favorable over the entire course of their term is irrelevant. Bad contracts have come and gone for decades. Nothing is guaranteed, except for this. Financially, baseball is doing very well. And let's go a step further. All 30 owners are doing very well. No team operates at a loss or anything close to it. Owning a Major League Baseball team is a way for rich owners to become even richer. If it wasn't, then they wouldn't be in the business. The teams which have low payrolls have made an active choice to disengage from the competitive nature of the sport. It's a terrible look for baseball when teams are clearly not even trying, or worse, when they make a sad attempt at pretending to try, thereby insulting the intelligence of their own fan base. If MLB relegated the worst teams like Premier League soccer does, then the dismal Pirates, Rockies, Reds, and Royals would either be out of the majors or would have been sold off to new owners long ago. Those teams have no reason to try because their owners simply don't care about the on-field product. Instead, they ruin the long-standing fan bases in those cities, which hurts the overall reach, engagement, and growth of the sport. When teams like the New York Mets and San Diego Padres break the bank and start handing out huge contracts, it's because they can afford to, just as all the other teams can do as well. For the sake of context, right now the Yankees could sign Carlos Rodon to the 6-year $180 million contract that he's reportedly seeking, sign Carlos Correa to a 10-year $300 million contract, and Andrew Benintendi for a 5 or 6-year $100 million deal, and they would still have a lower payroll than the Mets. And that's assuming that the Mets don't go and sign Carlos Correa to play third base, which, whether anyone wants to admit it or not, is still a possibility until he signs elsewhere. The Mets are so focused on winning a championship that in a short amount of time they've plugged all of their holes via free agency before their division rival, the Atlanta Braves, have even signed a single free agent. Again, if you want to win and you're trying, it'll be obvious to everyone. What Steve Cohen and the Mets are effectively doing is catching other teams asleep at the wheel, making them look bad in the process, and exposing all the cheapskate owners like the Pirates, Reds, A's, and Royals. Many of the teams who pocket their luxury tax money and don't reinvest any of it into their own teams. The Mets' 2023 rotation now consists of Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Kodai Senga, Jose Quintana, and Carlos Carrasco. As if that wasn't good enough, in addition to those five, they also have the underrated David Peterson and Tyler McGill. Is their 2023 roster better than it was in 2022? That remains to be seen, but in the meantime, the Mets are not sitting back and they're not letting other teams improve at their expense. They're actually trying. Building a winning culture doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice backed up by meaningful action. Whether that results in a championship or not is not the most important factor. After all, only one team can win the trophy each year. Rather, the Mets are doubling down on their team, their fan base, the value of their franchise, and making it fun to be a Mets fan. As for the Padres, same story. They're now a destination that players want to come to, and that wasn't always the case even recently. Slam Diego is more than a baseball town, it's now a vibe. A few years ago, they rebranded with their old brown and gold color scheme, created a fun atmosphere within their stadium, and invested in their on-field product. This past year, they were one game away from the World Series, and now they're all in on winning the World Series this coming season. The buzz of the Padres has resulted in sky-high sales with merch, a full stadium of paying fans, and positive attention from around all of baseball. Other teams' fans now look at the Padres and Mets and wonder to themselves, what if my team cared this much about winning and invested in itself? What would that look like? And how much would all teams and baseball itself benefit from a refreshing new approach to the game? As always, let's turn this back to you. What would you like to see your team change about its approach to spending and investing in itself? Do you think the Mets and Padres are crazy for what they're doing? Or do you look at their recent success and the newfound excitement around their franchises and want your team to believe in itself too? Any and all thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. My name is Liam. You can follow me on Twitter at Talkin Twins and on Instagram at Talkin Twins TV. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting Talkin Twins by subscribing to the channel. This is a brand new show and your support is greatly appreciated. If you want to see us post even more Twins content, smash that like button. Thanks so much for rocking with us. As always, go Twins.